Good evening, everybody, and welcome to our agenda briefing for the City of Kalgoorlie-Boulder for our Ordinary Council meeting for the 16th of December 2024. I open tonight's meeting at 6 p.m, as per scheduled, and on behalf of the City of Kalgoorlie-Boulder, I'd like to begin by acknowledging the traditional owners on the land at which we meet this evening, and I'd also like to pay my respects to elders past and present. We have a disclaimer reading in regards to the agenda, which reads as follows. It also includes a note on our public participation in council meeting policy, which this meeting is being recorded and streamed live on council's website in accordance with the city's public participation in council meeting policy, which can be viewed on council's website. All reasonable care is taken to maintain your privacy. However, as a visitor in the public gallery, your presence may be recorded. By remaining in the public gallery, it is assumed your consent is given if your image is broadcast. The recommendations contained in this agenda are officers' recommendations only and should not be acted upon until council has resolved to adopt those recommendations. The resolutions of council should be confirmed by perusing the minutes of the council meeting at which these recommendations were considered. Members of the public should also note that they act at their own risk if they enact any resolution prior to receiving official written notification of council's decision. The purpose of the agenda briefing sessions is for councillors to ask questions and obtain additional information in respect to the items presented on the ordinary council meeting agenda. Questions asked by councillors are to be answered by the CEO and or a person nominated by the CEO or person presiding. No decisions are made at agenda briefing sessions, no statements are to be made, no debate on items conducted. Our record of attendance alongside myself tonight, we welcome the Deputy Mayor. Good evening, Deputy Mayor. Good evening, Councillor O'Donnell. And good evening to Councillor Turner here tonight. We only have the 4 elected members who are in attendance this evening. We have apologies from Councillor Bodica, Councillor Winner and Councillor Johnson. Councillor Brownlee is not present and Councillor Viskovich has a delayed flight this evening and is also an apology. Members of staff, we've got the CEO, Andrew Bryan, who's just immediately to my left. The Director of Engineering, Louis Camporelli, is with us tonight. The Director of Corporate and Commercial, Cass Yeager, is with us tonight. Also, the Acting Director of Development and Growth, Elaine Baldemiro, with a new haircut this evening. Executive Manager of Finance, Zandra Kernock, is here tonight. So too the Executive Manager of Governance and Risk Services in Francis Liston. Our IT Cyber Security Analyst, Matthew Pearson, is here tonight, just to make sure all the gremlins are all good, and IT Officer Samrat Charaya is here tonight. We also welcome our Major Projects Delivery Consultant, Doug Pearson, who's here this evening. Splendid tie, Doug. We also have an apology from members of staff tonight in Mia Hicks, who is our Director of Advocacy and Strategy. No leave of absence, and we have notations of interest this evening received so far for items for our OCM agenda on the 16th of the 12th from Councillor Turner on the overdue debtors on page 20. Her husband is a member of the debtor. Also with, that's item 1414. Item 1541, the KBBA car park asphalts of financial interest as a husband worked for a company that did work on the project. Also noting Councillor Turner's interest in the overdue debtors position is financial as well. Also, disclosure of interest from myself this evening for item 1521 for next week's agenda, the sponsorship application from the Goldfields Children Charity, as I'm the host of the annual charity ball. The item 1414, the overdue debtors report, I'm an honorary member of a debtor on page 20, and the KBBA asphalting of the car park, I have a financial interest in that on page 133 as a commentator of NBL1 West coverage. Also impartiality interests this evening from the Deputy Mayor on item 15.2.1.1, the sponsorship, as a sponsor providing donations to the Goldfields Children Charity. Item 1612, the 1612 is the date, isn't it? It's 1502, and that is the extension to Vivian Street as a sponsorship of the ride. Also a impartiality and a financial in the debtor's overdue item as a husband is a member of a debtor. That also extends that item for 1502 into the other matter that's considered as well. Sorry, I don't have that off the top of my head. 1528. And 1527, just for clarification purposes. This evening, to open up our agenda to look at tonight. We do note that there are two late items which will need procedural motions at the OCM next week. Both are confidential, and for the purpose of the agenda briefing this evening, discussions will be included with the other confidential items as part of item 17 of the agenda, a probity review update and also disposal of land Area 1 in Broadwood. Zandra, we welcome you as our Executive Manager of Finance to present matters from the Audit and Risk Committee minutes from the 4th of December. First of all, item 14.1.1, 14.1.2, 14.1.3, 14.1.4, 14.1.4 is where we'll leave it. Zandra, if we could have a presentation on those items, please. Just for those on the stream, just obtaining that information.
Mr. Mayor, keep you waiting. Looking for my notes. 14.1.1. Oh, is that better? Okay. 14.1.1, tenders awarded under delegation July to September 2024. So there were no tenders awarded by the CEO under the conditions of delegation 1.1.16 during the period July to September 2024.
Thank you. You can move on to 14.1.2, noting that is the officer recommendation.
Purchasing policy exemptions, July 2024 to September 2024. So this report just shows the purchasing policy exemptions which occurred during that period, and there's nothing outside the norm from those numbers.
Thank you. Any questions, councillors? No, thank you. 14.1.3.
14.1.3 are dashboards which are prepared on a quarterly basis just to show by directorate and overall CKB.
Thank you. Any questions? No questions. Moving forward, noting the 14.1.4 has the overdue debtors report with councillors with financial interests.
Yep. So 14.1.4 shows the overdue debtors report as at September 2024. It does show an improvement in debtor days compared to prior year. There is a slight increase from the previous quarter. This is just timing.
Any questions, councillors? No, Zandra, thank you for the updates from the Audit and Risk. Risk Register 15.1.5, our Executive Manager of Governance and Risk Services, Francis Liston, who can also probably cover off 14.1.6, 14.1.7 as well.
Thank you. Through the Mayor, the Risk Register report provides an update in relation to the risk management framework and delivery of that project, and also attaches a strategic risk register for endorsement by Council.
Thank you. Any questions? No, thank you. 14.1.6, please.
Thank you. Through the Mayor, the Compliance Calendar report provides a brief report in relation to the compliance activities of the City, and also attaches a compliance calendar for noting of Council.
Any questions, councillors? No. Noting that most of the councillors have attended the meeting already. 14.1.7, Public Sector Commission Thematic Review of Integrity Education.
Thank you. Through the Mayor, this report provides a brief update in relation to an integrity education review that was completed by the Public Sector Commission. It also provides for the information of Council 2 draft reports that the City received from the Public Sector Commission.
Thank you. Any questions, councillors? No questions. Thank you, Francis. 14.1.8, WHS, that's Workplace Health and Safety, Quarterly Report, Mr CEO.
Yeah, thank you. Through the Mayor, this report is just in relation to the Workplace Health and Safety update for the period September to November 24.
Thank you, Mr CEO. Questions? Councillor O'Donnell.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I can't get the reports back up on my email, just in saying, but I'll ask some questions just that I've written down. And that under 14.1.8.15, workers.
Sorry, Councillor O'Donnell. Just to clarify that with the report, there are confidential items as part of those reports. So just a word of caution. potentially you may wish to, judging on what your questions are, maybe send those through to the CEO if possible, up to your discretion, but noting that they're confidential reports here.
Thank you. I'll take that on notice and email them. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor O'Donnell. Not to stop your questioning, just to be wary of that. The LGIS Audit and Workplace Health and Safety Action Plan, Mr CEO, again, 2 confidential attachments.
Yeah, thank you, through the Mayor. This is just a report to Council to outline the findings of the recent internal audit project that was undertaken by LGIS looking at our workplace health and safety systems across the Council.
Thank you, Mr CEO. Any questions? No, thank you. 14.1.10, pool inspections. Now, Acting Director of Development and Growth, Elaine Baldemiro.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. And through the Mayor, the Council was asked to receive a report relating to the update on the City's progress on the internal audit project relating to swimming pool barrier inspections and compliance matters. This report provides an update on the progress of inspecting swimming pool barriers outlined in the report of the 11th of September 2024 to the committee. That report advised that the backlog of inspection was reducing, and as of August 2024, there were 180 overdue inspections. This report advises that there are now 66 overdue inspections that were due prior to 2024 and 10 pool inspections due to be completed in 2024. The report also notes that the residential properties relating to the overdue inspections are getting difficult to contact and access, and that the City may have to issue warrants to gain entry to these properties. The report also states the City officers will revisit the resourcing of pool inspector role in the new year in regards to workloads and staffing considerations to ensure that the program stays on track. At the Audit and Risk Committee, Councillor Viskovich asked the question in regards to swimming pool barricades program. Do we let owners know we're getting warrants and what their options are? And that question was taken on notice. The officer's response to that question is the owners and occupiers are sent a series of letters requesting an inspection time of the swimming pool or spa. The final letter, which is yet to be sent, will spell out the options, including warrants and consequences of not arranging an inspection.
Thank you, Acting Director. Any questions, councillors? Councillor Turner.
Just to the Director, through the Mayor, just a question. I know that we had somebody that had objected to council coming into their property on the basis that they wanted a refund for their pool inspection, but I just wanted some clarity. Pool inspections, how they're charged on our rates, can we have a bit of if we've got an explanation that it's broken up over a period of years? It's not like your fee, is your fee that you get charged each year? It's not for an inspection each year, is it? You expect inspection is like every couple of years, but the fee gets broken up over the rates period, so it's not in one big hit.
Sure. Thank you, Acting Director.
Thank you, Councillor Turner. Through the Mayor, yes, the fee is broken up over multiple years.
Thank you. Councillor O'Donnell. Councillor Turner, if you wouldn't mind turning your mic on, please. Thank you. Councillor O'Donnell.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I noticed that it's been advertised 3 times and failed 3 times to attract a suitable applicant, and there's talk of outsourcing. Does a person to do a pool inspection have to be qualified, like with a degree or with anything, or can just somebody be trained up and do the job?
Thank you. Acting Director.
Thank you, Councillor O'Donnell. And through the Chair, you don't need a degree to do swimming pool inspections. You'll be trained on the job, but it's desirable to have knowledge and experience with swimming pool barricades and understanding the Australian standard and the legislation.
Yeah, thank you. And one more question, possibly direct for the CEO. Is it something we could look at going through Wolga or whatever? It appears that council staff spend a lot of time chasing and up pool owners. Is it something that Wolga could try and say, if you've got a pool, you've got a licence. You have to renew that licence so that it's up to the owner to do it, rather than we've still got to inspect them, but they've got to contact us to arrange time. I'm trying to just work out, because I just think, from what I've read and spoken to staff, back and forth. If you ended up charging the owner the amount of time staff members go there, it'd be astronomical.
Thank you, Councillor O'Donnell. Mr. CEO, do you want to take that on notice? Or?
Yeah, thank you, Mr Mayor. I will do some follow-up on that. I know there's a couple of issues in relation to the ability to charge and how we go about doing it. Putting the onus back onto the property owner doesn't work. That's clearly demonstrated with other things that they're responsible for. So we'll follow it up with Walgalo and provide a response.
Thank you, Mr. CEO. Any further items for 14.1.10? No further questions. Thank you, Elaine. 14.1.11, Essential 8, Director of Corporate and Commercial, Cass.
Thank you, Mr Mayor, and through you, this report provides a status update to the Council on our progress towards implementation of the Essential 8 framework.
Thank you, Cass. Any questions? No questions. Thank you very much. Reports of officers at item 15 from under the CEO, the Statement of Financial Activity for October 2024. Also the accounts payable for November 2024 as well. Zandra, if we can have a presentation on those, please, as our Executive Manager of Finance for those two items. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. 15.1.1, the Statement of Financial Activity for the period July 2024 to 31 October 2024. This shows that income is over by 0.77% and expenses are over by 0.63%, which is pretty good, I think, less than 1% each. Variances greater than 10% or 100 grand have been commented on within the body of the report, noting whether they are permanent or timing variances. All those variances identified will be reviewed as part of the mid-year budget review process. This process has commenced and the mid-year budget will be presented to Council prior to 31 March 2025.
Thanks, Sandra. Any questions, councillors? No? Thank you. 15.1.2, Accounts Payable Report.
So this report shows the accounts payable for the month of November. The total is approximately 9 million and there's nothing outside of the norm within that report. It's a pretty standard month of payments.
Thanks, Zandra. Any questions, councillors? No. Thank you, Zandra. 15.1.3, Council Calendar 2025. Mr. CEO.
Yeah, thank you, Mr Mayor. This is just formalising the previous decision from Council in relation to meeting dates for next year. The recommendation provides two parts. The first one is to adopt the ordinary council meeting and agenda briefing forum dates. The second part is just around noting the dates for concept forums and strategic workshops as they change throughout the year, so we don't have to come back and revisit the resolution. But it sets in place the meeting dates and agenda forums.
Thank you, Mr. CEO. Councillors, any questions on that? No? Thank you, Mr. CEO. 15.1.4, Community Standards Policy. Also with you, Mr. CEO.
Yeah, thank you, Mr Mayor. This report is the outcome of a notice of motion that was moved by Councillor Matthew prior to the last election. There's been a significant amount of work done in the background in terms of actually implementing some of the changes that are outlined in the new policy. So the intent of the policy is to formalise the changes that we're putting into place and try and provide a lead in this space. So it has been a work in progress. There's been a lot of work done in the background, but this formalisation of the draft policy will be that next step in it.
Thank you, Mr. CEO. Any questions, councillors? Councillor O'Donnell.
Just in relation to community standards policy, like number one, identifying areas that need a landscaping to improve the aesthetic value of an area, and they put such as Bird Street, Boulder, from the highway. Are they looking at the other entrances to the city? Like you've got Piccadilly, Hare, you've got Great Eastern Highway coming into the city as well.
Thank you, Councillor. Mr. CEO.
Yeah, thank you. Through the Mayor, we will be looking at other areas. Certainly the ones we're going to look at first are the ones that are under more control of the city. Lobbying for main roads and everyone else to do the work is a long process. So we'll deal with the bits we've got control over first, and then we'll keep going with advocating for other levels of government and the private sector to do their part.
One question from me, Mr. CEO, is that that's the plan? Is that the city gets its items in place first before we can, and lead by example before we can move to other areas?
Yeah, through Mr. Mayor, that's correct. It's hard to go out and get everyone else to do the work if we haven't done our own. So get our own house in order before we do it.
Thank you, Mr. CEO. Any further questions? No. 15.2.1, sponsorship application, Goldfields Children Charity Ball 2025. Elaine Baldomero, Acting Director of Development and Growth, noting that there is a financial interest from myself and an impartiality interest from the Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And through the Mayor, Council is asked to consider a request from the Goldfields Children's Charity Incorporated for $26,210 in-kind support to cover costs associated with the hire of the Oasis Stadium for their 2025 annual event. The annual ball is a fundraising event held in March each year, with proceeds of the event going to the Royal Flying Doctor Service and the Ronald McDonald House Charities Perth. Council has previously supported the event to the value of $10,000. However, this application for the 2025 event requests $23,210 to cover all costs relating to the hire of the Oasis Stadium, being the venue hire, cleaning and the duty manager costs. On the basis there is expectation again for approval, officers have provided some options for Council to consider, including approving the application as lodged, approving a low amount being $10,000 of in-kind support as previously approved. The officer's recommendation is to approve the application to the value of $10,000 with the acknowledgement that this policy will be reviewed after consideration of the history of all applications received for 2024 and relevant decisions, and after consultation with Council on the amended policy.
Thank you, Acting Director. Any questions? Councillor Turner.
Just a question to the Director through the Mayor, which you may have to take on notice. So I note that previously we've approved $10,000 in-kind support. Have the applicants had a difference that they have had to pay, or have our costs increased significantly since the previous ball was held? Because there's a $16,000 difference, and I'm just wondering if they actually paid any extra further funds in addition to the $10,000.
Thank you, Councillor Turner. Acting Director.
Thank you, Councillor Turner. And through the Mayor, I'll have to take that question on notice.
Thank you. Councillor O'Donnell.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. In regard to the compliance with policy, events that have commenced or begun promotion, the city cannot sponsor retrospectively. My question is, if the Children's Charity Ball made application within weeks after the current one, before they start anything, would that then be classified? Would they meet the guidelines?
Acting Director.
Thank you, Councillor O'Donnell. And through the Chair, look, the guidelines are very specific on if you promote before applying for the application. So if they've promoted, then it doesn't comply with the policy.
Thank you. Any further questions, councillors? Thank you, Acting Director. 15.2.2, don't go anywhere. Now, the Early Childhood Education and Care Conference.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And through the Mayor, Council is asked to receive the report about the City's inaugural Early Childhood Education and Care Conference and Professional Development Week for the Goldfield Educators. In 2022-23, City established a Childcare Educator Scholarship Program for students at Central TAFE in Kalgoorlie-Boulder with a $20,700 grant from the Department of Communities, Attraction Retention Package for Regional Childcare Worker Program, and 16 scholarships were awarded. Then this year, the City receives a $75,000 grant for subsequent round of the same Department of Communities program for a joint Goldfields project led by the City in collaboration with the Shires of Coolgardie and Leonora and supported by the Goldfields Esperance Development Commission and Central Regional TAFE. The conference itself was the first professional development week held from the 26th of October to the 1st of November in 2024, and it featured the city's inaugural Early Childhood Education and Care Conference in Kalgoorlie-Boulder on the 26th of October, a breakout session in Kalgoorlie-Boulder on the 29th of October, and in-centre visits from a Perth EC facilitator from the 28th of October to the 1st of November in Kalgoorlie-Boulder, Kambalda, Leonora and Leinster. The events were positively received and well attended. More than 80 educators attended with the 26 October conference, which featured presentations from Perth, local presenters on behaviour management, Aboriginal language, educator wellbeing and an introduction to autism awareness. The city is planning a second professional development week in March 2025 with the remainder of the Department of Communities funding, and planning has already started for this. So the council is asked to receive this report.
Thank you, Acting Director. Councillors, any questions on the report? Thank you, Councillor O'Donnell.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. In the report, under the heading Background, it says in 22-23, 16 scholarships were awarded. My question is, were the 16 scholarships taken up, and how many did it? Have they completed their studies, or is it more than a year's period? And if they have completed, how many of those that were awarded scholarships have taken up a role in this city?
It's a big question there, Councillor O'Donnell. Did you get all that? Did you get all that, Acting Director?
I think so. I'll have to take that question on notice.
There's a lot in there. Thank you, Councillor O'Donnell. Any other further questions? No, thank you. 15.2.3, Acting Director, stay there. Change of use, Holiday House, 37 Hinnamoa Street, Piccadilly.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. And through the Mayor, Council is asked to approve an application to convert the existing house at 37 Hinnamoa Street into a holiday accommodation. The existing house is on a strata title lot and fronts Hinnamoa Street, has 3 bedrooms on offer to guests. 1 bedroom is retained for private use by the owner and accommodation for 2 vehicles on site under a carport. The normal expected numbers constraints have been included in the application in the form of a limitation on guest numbers to a maximum of 6, a code of conduct, an operational management plan, and a real-time monitoring of noise and occupants with an emergency response procedure if required. With the measures in place through the recommended conditions of the approval, it is considered that the impacts of the use of the dwelling for holiday accommodation are acceptable and consistent with suburban living. It is recommended that Council approve the application with conditions as included in the officer's recommendation.
Thank you, Acting Director. Any questions, councillors? Councillor Turner.
Just to the Director through the Mayor. So this is obviously for an Airbnb property or something like this. I note that we've had a couple of these come through now. So this applicant's obviously doing the right thing, applying to council. Is there a mechanism that we will have? There's a lot of Airbnbs in Kalgoorlie-Boulder. Is there a mechanism we can have that we'll be able to follow up other people that are using their properties for Airbnbs that haven't done what this person has done and applied?
Thank you, Councillor Turner. Acting Director.
Thank you, Councillor Turner. And through the Mayor, these properties are coming to the Council's attention because they're required to register, go on a state register, and that's what's bringing them all out, because to be on the register, the requirement of approval from Council is required. So those that aren't on the register, they'll start to become, so that's why we're seeing more of these approvals come through.
Thank you, Acting Director. Councillor O'Donnell.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. A question, is this, so we, as Councillor Turner said, we're gradually getting more and more of these coming through. So it's mainly because the Act has changed and they have to register, and the ones that aren't registered that are already doing it, they'll gradually keep coming as well. So we'll be getting more and more of these?
Acting Director.
Thank you, Councillor O'Donnell. And through the Mayor, yes, you'll start to get more. I think the start deadline is the 1st of January 2025, I believe. So that's why there's more coming through. And then you'll find those that haven't applied, they'll start to come through after January 2023 to be on that register.
Councillor O'Donnell's follow-up.
One supplementary, Mr Mayor, probably to the CEO. Is this something we need to just look at on the side? I know we had a policy on workforce accommodation. Is this holiday house type possibly becoming an issue within the city?
Mr CEO.
I'm not quite sure I understand the question. There's going to be more and more of them coming on, obviously. One of the things we're going to be doing is reviewing the position next year in the delegation, the ability to delegate some of the decision-making down so that they don't all have to come back to council. But it is bringing everyone into line and ensuring compliance with the expectations, I guess, of the state changes. So there will be more of them coming through, and hopefully we'll get everyone to comply over time.
Yes, one supplementary more. The reason why I was asking that, it was, I do notice the hotels are running at possibly a third capacity at present, and the more and more Airbnbs we get, we need more rentals, and that was the reason why I was just asking, is it becoming an issue for the city? Thank you.
So is that a question? There's a statement, which we don't allow at agenda briefing. Thank you.
Right, could that be taken on notice, the CEO? Can I speak to the CEO later about that? So that makes it a question?
I'll take that as a question. Thank you. Any other further questions? Item 15.2.4, change of use, consulting rooms and ancillary dwelling, 1 Egan Street, Kalgoorlie. Acting Director.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. And through the Mayor, Council is asked to approve an application for a change of use from hotel to consulting rooms and an ancillary dwelling. The property is the former Glendevon Hotel, and as most of you know, the lower floor was damaged by fire prior to the current owner's purchase in 2010. The property has a local heritage listing of considerable significance. The intention of the owner is to develop 4 consulting rooms, a reception area, a meeting room and associated facilities on the ground floor, as well as an ancillary dwelling for a visiting health practitioner. The site is at the top end of Egan Street and fronts Egan Street and Brown Street. As an assessment of the parking availability in the area concludes that there is ample parking available for clients within the surrounding street network. The city's heritage architect has been consulted on the works and has provided a range of conditions and controls that will ensure the heritage integrity of the building is not compromised during the proposed work. The conditions, as imposed, address the heritage importance of the building and control the impacts of the development during works, and if approved, during ongoing use. The proposal is considered to be effective reuse of the lower floor of the heritage building that is close to the Kalgoorlie Town Centre. It is recommended that Council approve the application with conditions as included in the officer's recommendation.
Thank you, Acting Director. Councillors, any questions? Councillor Turner.
Just to the Director, through the Mayor. So this building, I know that they have done a significant amount of work to get it back up to scratch, which is fantastic. Just a question, are they currently using this as a residential property, and will they continue to use the upstairs for them to live in? What's the upstairs? Because it says it's the downstairs, so yeah.
Acting Director.
Thank you, Councillor Turner. And through the Mayor, yes, they'll continue to use the upstairs as a residential.
Thank you. Any other further questions? 2 from me, Acting Director. You stated there that there would be a visiting practitioner, however, no more than 2 practitioners shall be consulting at any given time, and then that leads into point 4, the consulting rooms from 9 to 5. Is that the request of the applicant for those 2 particular conditions, or is that a condition from the city?
Thank you, Mr Mayor. And through the Mayor, that's at the request of the applicant.
Thank you. Councillors, any further questions? Nope. Thank you. Stay there, actually. You've got a couple more. 15.2.5, native title, Kakara A, WAD 297 of 20.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. And through the Mayor, Council is asked to consider consenting to the minute of proposed consent determination of native title, Kakara Part A native title claim over an area of land northeast of the city of Kalgoorlie-Boulder within the district. The claim area includes land with a relatively small area of the Shire of Menzies. However, the claim area within the city's district is 9,209 square kilometres. The report before Council includes a full details of the proposed determination map, as well as a map showing the extent of the determination area within the city's boundaries. The documentation in the proposed determination results from the process undertaken between the claimant and the State of WA. The application lodged with the Federal Court sought a determination by the Court on native title rights over an area of the district west of the city. The State and the applicant group have now reached agreement on the terms of the orders of the Federal Court as set out in the determination documents. The applicant now seeks consent of the parties to the minute of consent, specifically the City of Kalgoorlie-Boulder and the Shire of Menzies. It should be noted that the Court provided both local governments with an extension until Tuesday the 17th of December to either sign up the notice of consent or to lodge an affidavit submission with the Court providing details on the opposition to the determination. As noted in the report, there are fundamentally two categories where native title holders can hold an interest. Firstly, the exclusive areas. So these are areas determined as having exclusive rights, effectively provide native title holders with the right of ownership over the land and the right to exclude others who do not already have a valid interest that operates side by side with the native title. It provides the right to possession, occupation, use and enjoyment to the exclusion of others. As noted in the report, these rights do not have precedent over any lawful mining or pastoral activity. Secondly, non-exclusive rights. Under non-exclusive native title, the native title holders can certain limited rights, such as right of access to be present on, hunt and remove resources. However, they do not have a right to exclude others. The third category on the determination map is areas where native title has been extinguished, so it doesn't exist. The map also has hatched areas where native title was previously extinguished, but the extinguishment can be disregarded, which usually entails a practical outcome equivalent to the exclusive areas. The implication for the city going forward is that the city desires to obtain an interest in Crown land that doesn't already have, and the land is subject to native title, exclusive or non-exclusive, such as interests would constitute a future act within the meaning of the Native Titles Act 1993. The most common way to have an agreement concerning a Futures Act is to enter into an Indigenous Land Use Agreement, also known as ILUA, with the native title holder. An ILUA is a voluntary agreement between native title parties and other people or bodies about the use and management of areas of land and or water. The process of obtaining an ILUA usually involves some form of compensation to the native title holder to secure such an agreement. To summarise, Council is asked to consider the comprehensive report before it and to consider agreeing to the minute of the proposed consent determination. And McLeod's will be available after the briefing session to answer Councillors' questions, as they'll be in a better position to answer those questions.
Thank you, Acting Director. Councillors, any questions on 15.2.5? Councillor Turner.
Yeah, I've got quite a few questions, but I'll reserve them to ask them of McLeod's. But I just noticed in there that there was a native title claim that was resolved in November 2023 that it says that a city officer signed off on with the lawyers. Is that correct?
Acting Director.
I believe so.
Thank you. No other further questions, councillors? 15.2.6, 2025 calendar events. How exciting.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. And through the Mayor, Council is asked to consider the proposed 2025 calendar of events. The report recommends that Council endorse the 2025 calendar of events for the City of Kalgoorlie-Boulder. These events aim to deliver community, cultural and economic development, economic benefits while aligning with the City's strategic community plan. Key highlights include major events such as the Sunset Concert Series between January and February, which is a live outdoor concert featuring local and international artists. The Multicultural Festival in June, a celebration of cultural diversity with food, performances and stalls. pop-up projects between June and July, an innovative experience leveraging the success of previous events, Art Prize and Kaleidoscope Festival in September, showcasing arts and culture, including exhibitions, competitions and performances, Christmas events between November and December, community celebrations such as Christmas Street Party and Senior Christmas Lunch. And the other key highlight is smaller community events held throughout the year to support various strategic initiatives like inclusion, health and youth engagement. This report outlines the planning, strategic alignment, budget alignment, mitigation risks and community consultation that has been undertaken to ensure the success and safety of these events for the community.
Thank you, Acting Director. Any questions, Councillor Turner?
Just to the Director, thank you for bringing this report up. The Sunset Concert Series, would we need to look at perhaps an amendment for next week to include the 2026 series in this as well? It might make it a bit easier when we're approving for next year when this comes up, because given that some of this event in particular is coming up in January. So if we had a hiccup and we're only approving forward for the next year in December, so I'm asking if we can add on the Sunset Concert Series for 2026 as well, perhaps with just some tentative dates.
Sure, I'm going to revert to the CEO there because I believe that'll be part of the budget process for us to consider, Mr. CEO.
Yeah, thank you. Through the Mayor, probably two parts to it. One is I think we've got penciled in for January to bring back the event strategy for Council to review, and I think it'll be picked up through there. But the second part of it is to have to be put into draft budget for next year.
Thank you. Councillor Turner?
Another question, could we perhaps have these added to our council diary now, given that these dates are set, which is great, so that we can have some forward planning for ourselves?
Thank you. I think the sunsets, they're in my diary. Yep, we can work on that if we get approved. If we approve it next week, we'll work on that. Thank you. Further questions? No? Item 15.2.7 is a pickup from our last OCM, which was the extension of time-limited approval for workforce accommodation at lot 3874 Hopkins Street in South Boulder. The debate on this matter was adjourned during that meeting. It was moved by Councillor Viskovich, seconded by Councillor Johnson. We entered into debate with Councillor O'Donnell being the only member who has spoken on the item. When the item comes back next week, Councillor O'Donnell, you won't be able to seek any further interest in the debate. However, the mover will be able to use a right of reply. Acting Director of Development and Growth, anything to add to this item, noting that it has been to the council meeting for the 18th of November?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I believe you've covered everything.
Thank you, Mr. CEO. Nothing to add? No? No. And we do have the presentation tonight as well. Also noting that the next item for discussion tonight, and we've also got the interest, by the way, of the Deputy Mayor on both of those, in an impartiality, that was moved by Councillor Viskovich as well, from recall. And seconded by Councillor Winner. Therefore, both Councillor Winner won't be able to speak on the matter when it comes to council, as it went to a procedural after that. Councillor Viskovich has the right of reply.
Sorry, Mr. Mayor, just on that one, Councillor Winner didn't actually speak to the motion. All his only comment was, I know where this is going, so I'll speak to it. I'm not actually speaking to it. I went back and listened to the recording on it.
Okay. So he didn't speak to it.
He said he wasn't going to speak to it because he knew it was
Okay. Okay, I'll follow that up with you, Mr. CEO. Thank you. No further questions, councillors, on those? Councillor O'Donnell, sorry.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Under officer recommendation, the final one, it said this approval is valid for 10 years from the date of occupancy being 16 February 2024. Following expiry of this period, all development works must be demolished and removed unless a further development approval is granted. Is a further development approval an extension to still operate? Is that classified as a development approval when it's already established?
Mr. CEO?
Yeah, through Mr. Mayor, yes, it is. It's a time-limited approval, so any further extension to that would be a new approval.
Thank you. No further questions, councillors. 15.3, Goldfields, thank you, Acting Director, by the way. Goldfields Indigenous Housing Organisation Bus and Trailer Maintenance. In the absence of the Director for Advocacy and Strategy, Mr CEO, did you want to touch on 15.3.1?
Director Engineering is going to deal with that one for us.
Excellent. Director of Engineering. And then he's got a couple of items which he can stay for as well. Thank you, Director.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. And through the Mayor, item 15.3.1 asks that Council receive the report and note that Council intends to enter into an MOU under the Partnership Service Agreement for the maintenance of the city-owned retrofitted bus and trailer that goes out to the lands and Trinjanjara with the Goldfields Indigenous Housing Organisation.
Thank you. Any questions, councillors? Councillor Turner.
Just reading through the report, basically the maintenance we actually do, which is substantial every time given the condition of that road and what it does to the bus, and that's what can only go out once a week. The income we get in and the income it goes out, so basically is it cost neutral? Am I understanding that correctly, or have I misread it?
Through the Mayor, it's actually better than cost neutral for the city.
Thank you. Councillor O'Donnell.
I don't know if the Director will be able to answer this one. The buses, when they go to Warburton, they're taking people out of the city. We're doing our bit. Are we bringing people back from there to our city?
No.
None.
No, it's a one-way bus.
Oh, good job.
Any further questions, councillors? No? Director, over to you for your engineering portfolio. Noting my financial interest in the matter, and also Councillor Turner has financial interest in the Kalgoorlie-Boulder Basketball Association asphalting of car park.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. And through you, Council was asked to support an application from the Kalgoorlie-Boulder Basketball Association to assist with the sealing and asphalting of the car park that adjoins the new KBBA Stadium. There are no financial implications resulting from this recommendation, as $300,000 has already been budgeted for the 24-25 budget for parking facilities car park construction, and to date only $124,000 has been expended on that.
Thank you, Director. Any questions, councillors? No, thank you, Director. 15.4.2, the proposed partial road closure, Orabanda Davyhurst Road.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Council was asked to note the report which outlines the terms and conditions reached in agreement between the City and Orabanda Mining in relation to the partial road closure of the Davyhurst-Orabanda Road. Council was asked to accept the recommendation of the City in this report.
Thank you, Director. Councillors, any questions? Councillor Turner?
Just a question to the Director through the Mayor. I've got two questions. Is there any changes to what was previously presented or agreed on to Council?
Director?
Thank you, Mr Mayor, and through yourself. There was one change to the length of time, so people travelling that road that had land out there had to apply annually rather than every 3 months.
Councillor Turner?
And the next question, I note that the City met with six representatives from APLA, the Amalgamated Prospectors and Leaseholders Association, to hear concerns raised on their behalf from their members. Do we know if their concerns were addressed and allayed?
Director?
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Yes, they were. That was their request, that they didn't have to apply quarterly and they'd apply annually for a permit.
Thank you. Any other further questions? One from me, Director. During the report under terms of conditions of agreement, it's noted that the City receives a request from Siberia. Is Siberia a name that we need to consider in the report? It's not quite clear on where Siberia's come from, apart from obviously being a location.
Siberia is just a location of the road.
So, point 2, Siberia may, on giving no less than 9 months' notice prior to the end of the term, request that the City extend the term for a specified period. Are we expecting Siberia to contact Council?
No, I'm thinking that'll be changed to Orabanda Mining.
Thank you, Director. Any other further questions, councillors? No, thank you. Item 1543, award of tender T006 2425, construction of new sewer main extension.
Thank you, Mr Mayor, and through you. The purpose of this report is for Council to consider the submissions received for tender number T006 2425, construction of new sewer main extension, and award the tender. As a result of development and growth in Kalgoorlie-Boulder, some of the city's sewer mains have reached capacity and now pose a risk of overflowing. At certain access chambers during rain events, which we had one a couple of weeks ago, that caused some issues, we're not able to cope with additional developments without overflowing at certain pinch points. The tender closed on the 6th of November 2024 and the city received 5 submissions. The panel recommends that Council award the tender to tenderer C.
Thank you. Any questions, councillors? No. 1544, award of tender T002 2425, Usher Park and Oasis Fields sports lighting upgrade.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Council was asked to consider the submissions received for tender number T002 2425, Usher Park and Oasis Field sport lighting upgrade, and award the tender. 4 tenders were received. All tenderers were required to address relevant experience and include the following information in the submission: details of similar work, demonstrated experience in projects, scopes of the respondents, including details of outcomes, details of issues that arose during projects, demonstrated competency and proven track record. The panel recommends that the Council award the tender to tenderer A.
Thank you. Councillors, any questions? Councillor Turner?
Just to the Director through the Mayor, I note that the key personnel regional contracting obviously only has a 10% weighting and price obviously has a much higher rating. The tenderer, the preferred tenderer, has a significantly less regional contracting percentage there, and the other 3 have significantly higher. So I'm thinking that this is work is probably going out of it's a contractor out of town, perhaps. Is that correct?
Noting the confidentiality of the item, we'll take that on notice for the Director to provide detail. Any other further questions? 1545, Director, award of tender T024 2324 Kingsbury Park Minor Works.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Council was asked to consider the submission received for tender T024 2324 Kingsbury Park Minor Building Works and approve the awarding of tender to tenderer A. At the ordinary council meeting 16th September 2024, council declined the offer for the tender of T024 2324 due to the tenderer submitting a tender price 30% over the anticipated budget. The T024 2324 was re-tendered on the 3rd of October 24 and closed on the 24th of October 24.
Thank you, Director. Any questions, councillors? No. Item 16, questions of which... Thank you, Director, by the way. Questions of which due notice has been given at item 16. There are nil. We do have consideration for 4 items for confidential matters for council to consider now, including 2 of those being late. We will pause our stream to conduct those conversations and then resume to close off the meeting. Council has discussed several of those items for confidential and can progress to back to the agenda. Noting that just before I close the meeting this evening, I'd like to pay my opportunity to thank Elaine Baldomiro, who's our Acting Director of Development and Growth. It's his last day with the city. Elaine, how many years? 21 years with the city. All the very best of luck to you with your next role. Thank you very much. Great to see your progression within the city, and now obviously in the acting director role. I believe you're moving to a director role at your next job as well. Is that correct? No, manager. Yeah. All the very best of luck to you, Elaine. You probably deserve to be director. And I'll close the meeting off tonight at 11 minutes past 7. Thank you very much. Thank you, staff. Thank you, councillors. Enjoy your evening.